Hello, Grace Fellowship Church, and welcome to this week's midweek talk. Hope you're all doing well. Yesterday was a special day for Laura and I. Our son Luke graduated from high school, and Springfield High School was able to do a graduation service, having not a group, but individual graduates come at their appointed time, stand on the stage with their family of four, applauding them, and it was different. It was very different, but we were grateful to Springfield High School for doing something to honor the graduates and our Luke. He is going to the National Guard boot camp, Fort Benning, Georgia, first week of July. So for Laura and I, he's the last of six, and we are about to experience something called empty nesters. I think I'm more excited about that than Laura is. I get excited about my children going out into the world and making their mark on the world, and getting their jobs and their careers and taking care of themselves. I know how rewarding that is. And but Laura, mother Laura, is going to be holding on to Luke especially tight while he leaves. So thank you for indulging me talking about our graduate. Love you all very much. This Sunday we will be meeting at the church parking lot. Again, this will be our third time. And let's continue to keep the lines of communication open, and we'll see what we do for the following Sunday, which is June 7th. I'll be meeting with the elders between this Sunday service and then, and look out for more information in the weekly letter. Concerning the letter and these midweek talks, formerly 20-minute talks, but now they're much shorter, being I'm preaching on Sunday. But I'd love to have feedback. The letter and these videos, are they helpful? How can we should we continue them? If so, how can we better serve you through these venues? And so by all means, feel free to share. Okay, a couple of things happening at the church. We are renovating our bathrooms, and so if you were to go into the hall that leads to the fellowship hall, those bathrooms there are completely torn up, and it looks like they'll be completed at the end of the summer. And so that's good timing, being the large women's Bible study is not meeting during the summer. So it's a good time to get that done. Laura and Roz continue to be there at the office Monday through Thursday from 10 to 2. And just trying to think about other business related things. Hosea is still meeting. I think they are giving food boxes to street kids, but not bringing them into the building. The Hispanic church is waiting to hear from us about when we start. We were supposed to do we were supposed to do Easter service with them, but due to the COVID restrictions, obviously that was canceled. So we're looking forward to doing a joint service with them soon into our return. I don't know that it will be an Easter service. I think Easter feels pretty far removed for us to try and even attempt to do something like Easter. Okay, but The NA group will be meeting come July. Child Evangelism Fellowship is continuing to have office hours. And so just want to give you some updates, okay? I hope you're doing well. This last week we talked about Samson, and we talked about his birth and his destruction and all the things in between. And his birth was miraculous. His mother, who was barren, was visited by an angel of God and was told that she would give birth to a son and that he would be a Nazirite from the womb. And if you remember, being a Nazirite is a special vow that Jews would take as a way of thankfulness to God. It was typically a vow that they would take for a limited duration of time, a vow in which they would not cut their hair, they would not drink alcoholic beverage, and they would not touch anything that was dead. They would not touch any dead corpse. In Samson's case, he was a Nazirite from the womb, and so God had set him apart, and it was a permanent vow. And yet we see in Samson's life a complete disregard for that vow. We remember the story with Delilah, that he told her the secret to his strength, and so she, for a price, was bought off by Samson's enemies, and then relayed the secret to the enemies. She cut his hair while his head was laying on her lap, and he was captured by the Philistines, and he ended up dying with his eyes plucked out, working as a donkey, if you will, grinding grain. And at the very end, they brought him before them in the temple of Dagon to entertain them. And he asked God for a final bout of strength, and he pushed in the pillars, and the temple collapsed. And the scripture says he killed more of the Philistines in his death than he did his entire life. But Samson was the kind of guy that if he saw something and he liked it, he wanted it. Case closed. He couldn't be reasoned by his parents when he wanted a Philistine bride. He gave the bride away, and then he took her back, and it says that he saw a harlot. He wanted her. She was right in his eyes. And then, of course, the whole story with Delilah. Samson was a carnal man. He was a carnal man. And I see in Samson that he had trouble with his eyes. The things that he would put his eyes on, the things that he would allow to come into him through his eyes, the things that he would allow to look at and therefore become big and important and even necessary, to the point that he would forsake his own vow because he felt having Delilah was more desirous than living out his vow to God. Samson had eye trouble. He had no discipline for his eyes. He had no sense of guarding his eyes. If he saw something and he liked it, he wanted it, period. And we see in Samson a man who had very little, if any, restraint. We see in Samson a man who not only didn't seem to care much for his vow, but a man who was willing to live in the moment, live for the pleasure of the moment. He was a very carnal, very fleshly man. And I think it's ironic that this man who had eye trouble, and the things that he put his eye on, that when his enemies captured him, that they plucked out his eyes. And so this Sunday we're going to go into Samson part 2, and we're going to specifically look at what the scriptures say about eyes. We'll start off with Samson, But from Samson, we'll go on talking about what the scriptures say about our eyes. And when we talk about our eyes, we're not just talking about physically, but we're not just talking about physical eyes, but we're talking about spiritual eyes, having eyes to see, right? I could say to you, do you see what I mean? I'm not asking you if you physically see it, but I'm asking you if you understand or perceive what it is that I'm saying, okay? And so how are your spiritual eyes? How are your spiritual eyes? Are you seeing beyond the immediate? Are you seeing beyond the carnal? Are you seeing beyond the things of this world? Right? Spiritual eyes. So we'll be talking about that. Jesus had a lot to say about our eyes. He said that the eye is the lamp of the body. Sorry, I'm reading a scripture. The lamp of the body is the eye. If therefore your eye is good, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in you is darkness, how great is that darkness? And so Jesus puts a lot of credence to how we're using our eyes. And if our eye is good, then all of us is good. And if our eye is bad, then all of us is bad. Corrupt, perverted. If our eye is enjoying things that are good and wholesome and pure, then our whole body is going to be good, wholesome, and pure. If our eye is looking at things that are corrupt, things that are lustful, things of greed, things of power, well, guess what? Our bodies and our bodies meaning our minds and our heart and our values, will be reflected by the things that we put on our eye. Our eye is a lot like a lamp. Jesus said it's a lamp. What we shine a lamp on is what we see. So where are we shining that lamp? What is it that we want to see, right? Be very careful. Jesus ultimately says that if your eye sins, pluck it out. Well, he's not telling us to literally pluck out our eye, but we should so hate the dark things of this world, the corrupt things of this world, the sinful things of this world, the things that ultimately separate us from a life with God. We should so hate the corrupt, sinful, dark things of this world that we'd be willing to pluck out our own eyes if that would help. If that would help. Well, it may help to a degree, but there's other ways that we take in the things of this world. Touch and hearing and other senses as well. Okay? But that's how we should feel about the things that we take in with our eye. I'd be willing, I'm so tired of looking at the things that I should not be looking at, desiring the things that I should not be desiring, bringing things into my body through my eyes. I'm so tired of the corruption that comes in through my eyes, according to my own lack of willpower, strength. I'm so tired of that I'd be willing to pluck out my eyes. I'd be willing to go without eyes, as if that would help. Okay, so we're gonna unpack all of this Sunday and have a good talk about, ultimately, are we employing the kind of discipline that's required in order for us to not live in the wide, broad road of destruction, but the narrow road that brings life, It's interesting, Jesus talks about the eye, and he says, if your eye is pure, then you are whole, then you are complete. Okay? So, how do we find satisfaction in life? How do we find completeness? It's not by taking in more. It's by sticking with less, if you will, but less is more. Less being the things that God has for us and not the things of this world. All right, we gotta be careful with our eye. Well, look at Eve. Eve saw the fruit of the tree, right? That it was desirous to her. There's a whole bunch of glitter out there in this society that may seem desirous, but it leads to eroded destruction. Completeness in God is by having an eye that is devoted to the things of God. Okay, so we're going to get very, very practical this Sunday, talking about how to keep our eye pure. All right. God bless you. Look forward to seeing you Sunday, the same drill as previous Sunday. And we'll see you real soon. God bless you.